One, two, three, four.
I think that you have to really consider the fact I was born in 1976, and I went to school at a very interesting time, and was educated by a lot of educators, particularly Black educators, who had gone to college in the 60s. So as I realized this before I became an adult, I never lived outside of a Black enclave. And the cool thing about being in a Black enclave is there's more class mixing. And I lived next door from the time I was 3 until I was 15. I lived next door to a Black dentist. And across the street there were Black college professors. And I go one block over, and then it's my friends in the projects. And so we were like, I mean, so that was just how we existed. And I've heard Lorraine Hansberry talk about a similar existence. It's this idea where you're intimate with all different kinds of folks. And everybody's Black, and the only difference is the socioeconomic. So why I say all of that is because if you are in a situation and you have a parent who works, who goes to a job, then when you go to school and they realize that about you, they say, well, you have no excuse not to be doing every single thing. You have no excuse not to be making the grades, showing up. You have, as people would say, you have no excuse to be acting a fool. So when I say that is, you grow up with this generation looking to you to do something, and then you study. There's a strong civil rights tradition here, and you study that and you get acquainted with that, and then so the whole time you're thinking to yourself, because I've talked to other friends about that. You're thinking, okay, so what am I gonna do? What's the way that I'm going to make an impact on the world? I remember being in Black Tap and Burlap, and I feel like I always knew it, but I was insulated because I was in mostly Black communities. And I realized that it was possible in this country for white people to be born, go to school, um, have a family, work a whole job, retire, and die, and never consider who I was as a Black person and my life, the work of my ancestors. They just it's a privileged insulation that white people can have in this culture, that I don't have. And I didn't have all this stuff, the words that are flying around right now about white supremacy and white dominant culture and white privilege and all these things. But I knew I was motivated to make art that says, I'm here, I exist. This is what's come before me. These are the shoulders of the people that I stand on. And so you go in and you have conversations with people, and they're like, yeah, you should do that. Like, yeah, all right, let's go do this white thing though. And then you pick up your check, and then you're like, huh. And then so it's just that repeated over and over and over. And you're like, wait a second. The whole reason I got into this was to be able to be telling these stories. How do I tell these stories? And so that's the shortened, simplified version of, I've just found a way to build skill, get professional experience, develop relationships, and then still get back to the whole reason I started out, which is where I'm talking about, why I talked about those being a child being taught by people who were students in the 60s and early 70s, getting back to that responsibility and community and being able to that's my voice. That is the voice. It's about making people understand that me and my ancestors, we are here. What we do is vital. There would be no America without us. And this is not, I am not a subset. I am not a subgenre. I don't even like the word minority. I've had another shift recently, the last few years, because for so long, I thought, like, just to quote Shakespeare, the play is the thing. Like the play is the thing. So we have all these ideas and all of these things going, and we will make a play. We will open up the doors, and people will come to this play, and they will engage intellectually and spiritually with this work of art and these collaborators and this piece, and they will go out into the world. And for real, I operated in that way. And to agree, there's nothing wrong with that. And I've changed. I really have changed. And then this is a recent change, like within the last 5-6 years, because what I realize is that the entire reason we do these quote unquote plays is or tell these stories and put them on stages is because these are conversations we're already having in community. And the play is not the thing. What is happening in community, those conversations are the thing, and this is just one way to get at it. This is just one way. And so it's a deal where I've started to, like, with the companies that I work with, I'm trying to find every single time, and I know it's more work, but I'm trying to find a way that not just community outreach because we're doing a play. We're doing a play because this is part of our community outreach, and we're doing these other things as well. You know what I'm saying? So it needs to be so this is, and then people are going to shudder. Some people are going to shudder at this, but attendance at this play is not the be all end all ultimate experience that I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? Can you dig that? Because people are like, we got to get people in the seats. We have to, yeah, I want them to do that. That's great. But it's got to be, we can't just do this stuff in community because we want ticket sales or we want people to experience. We want this to be one of the many things we're doing because we see that there are issues in community, or that there are conversations in community that people are having that we want to be a part of, not we are starting a conversation. And actually, I read something recently with Tectonic Theater Company, way of devising that they call moment work. And at the beginning of that book, they perfectly explain the American theater process as it relates to capitalism. Because they talk about the fact that you start, and then even though all the work should be valued the same, we start with the playwright writing the play, and we don't pay the playwright right away. You know what I'm saying? And then we start by that. And then same with the directors and the designers, they start and they design, and then there's a casting process. And then the stages of how we produce, we go more expensive, more expensive, more expensive, more expensive. And we save the really expensive stuff, and everything, no matter how long the process is, it works like this. We save the really expensive stuff for last because that's more expensive. But it doesn't mean that the stuff that we weren't spending as much money on is less important. It's just that financially we're doing this graduated thing. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is absolutely wild, because that's what I've experienced. Like, we're like at a place where, what if we started paying the stagehands who work on the show? What if we started paying them from day one and just made them a part of the rehearsal process and paid them a living wage to do it? I mean, that's crazy. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That sounds nuts. It sounds super expensive only because we've set up our system to do what it has, and we just locked into that. So, I mean, things like that. I'd started to understand and find a way to really, my whole deal as an artist now is I want to make spaces where people can show up fully as their whole selves. And it's the same as my work facilitating things in community. It's the same thing as an educator. It's all the same work to me, even though it takes on a different form. I might be working with different people, and so I'm trying to guide and pattern everything towards that. And that's my voice. Just creating spaces, because I realize that as myself, specifically as a Black person in this world, it is very challenging to consistently being asked to show up, but not show up as your full self. And then also to get rewarded for not showing up as full self is maddening. And it's something that as I've gotten older, I want to participate in less and less. And so it's like, I just can't, it gets to a point where I cannot do it anymore. So I have to prioritize myself and my own sanity. I think it's insanity to consistently um, normalize the your own marginalization, um, whether that's purpose, intentional or not. You know what I'm saying? That's the impact. So why the heck am I doing it? Why am I participating in that? I know it just hurts me, and no amount of money can buy back what I'm losing.